So in terms of what the course basically is, it's important to recognize that it's mainly about speculative content, things that don't exist yet, right? And therefore it is different from every other course that you've ever taken. So it isn't just a course about technology and medicine. It's about technology and the future of medicine, particularly the exponential future, the fact that you know, there's the Moore's law curve, and that there's kind of acceleration of our progress toward the future. And we are rapidly approaching, like 8 years from now, machines will be as smart as individual humans. And 24 years from now, machines will be as smart as the whole aggregate human race, right? And the only way we'll know what's going on if we, you know, collaborate or join with them in some way. We also talk about exponential risk, things that could wipe out the entire human race. So any paper written for our course would be dramatically different from a paper you had done for any other course. And similarly, the presentation would be different because of those themes of speculative content, future scenarios. So the other thing that you indicated an interest in is health in the developing world. You may know that I have a lot of interest in that. I started the entity of NKF cybernephrology in 1997. And that year we sort of put out a worldwide call for countries that wanted us to provide help. And what then happened, the first country to ask for help was Nepal. And so it's the first place that I went. So in 1998, I went to Nepal, engaged in a number of kind of networking and humanitarian medical projects there. And then I basically continued that the next 23 years. And you may wonder how that's relevant to this conversation, but like you'll see in the last term, we had some of our lectures at 7:30 in the morning. Why would we do that? We did that because we wanted to include people from Nepal, and that's a very convenient time for them. It's approximately 7:30 p.m. their time, 7:30 a.m. our time. It's a good way to bring both sides together. It's a little bit early for students here, but that's okay because we, you know, recorded it and they could watch it later. And so we are very dedicated to trying to come up with ways that human beings can flourish, can be successful, that work both for, you know, developing world scenarios and also for our, you know, developed world, and strongly committed toward that. And it even extends to leisure things like my 75th birthday party on June 20th. So the first, we're going to do a day-long birthday party. You may know June 20th is also the summer solstice and Father's Day. So it's a really big deal besides being my 75th birthday. So we are going to have 4 segments of the birthday party, two hours each, separated by 4 hours starting at 7:30 in the morning, and including people from Nepal then. And so, yeah, I think that that in fact, most of the things you're looking for are available in this course. I just didn't want you to think, for instance, that like if you just write a paper about the history and future of the pacemaker, let us say, that's not going to work for this course because it doesn't have that feeling of, Moore's law, exponential change, the rapid upward sweep of the rapid pace of acceleration and that sort of thing. So what was that different kind of course what you were looking for? Or were you looking for a more, conventional course? It talks about things that exist right now and tests your knowledge and those things.
I think what you described seems very interesting to me and what I'm kind of looking for. I think especially like as you mentioned, working alongside like developing countries, that's something that very much fascinates me, kind of taking it out of perspective and like seeing internationally how these things apply. So I think what you described like directly aligns with kind of what I'm looking for.
Okay, great, good. Yeah, so you may know that it's an unusual course in many ways. It's the only such course in a medical school or taught by a full-time faculty member. There are 3 other similar courses taught by professional keynote speakers, people who speak much better than me, better show people, but they don't have to be academically credible. They just have to put on a good show, whereas I actually have to be academically credible. So it's surprising that there aren't more courses like this in the academic world or in regular medical schools, but there aren't. And so we're kind of at the forefront of something, and that's exciting for many students. So there's the full spectrum. To some students, this is just another course. It's, they've taken a lot of courses, they start, they're on to other things and so on. So for other students, it is life-changing, and they decide to pick some subject in what we're talking about, devote the rest of their life to it, and they come back and help us with the course and that sort of thing. And interestingly, there's no relationship between the grade the student got and their subsequent behavior. Like the grades tend to range from like B+ to A+ or B to A+. Sometimes they're all A's. Sometimes they go down to the C's. But I used to think that the students who got the B's would be unhappy, but there are students who always get B's. That's what they do. They're sort of here in the university to have a good time and take the cool courses, and they think it's totally lame to work as hard as you have to work to get an A. So when they get a B, that's just normal, I never knew there were students like that before, but there really are. And so sometimes the only discord is there's a student who's gotten an A and they know their friends got A+, and they want an A+. But we also respect clustering. So like if you graph the actual performance, if you're in a cluster with a bunch of other people, that sort of determines what grade you should get, right? So these people complaining that they only got an A and their friends got A+, they would be in a cluster down here, and their friends with the A+ would be up here. There's a gap between the two, So like there's really no argument. It isn't like we have to take it to some higher authority or something. So yeah. So anyway, and there people who get really into the culture of the course were kind of frustrated with a long gap between the winter semester and the fall semester. What am I going to do, So we have the Future and All That Jazz, which is taking very important but uncomfortable areas of science that you might not want to sit still for a lecture on, like AI safety and regenerative medicine and stuff like that, and insert those ideas into poetry and music, and we could teach you stuff while you're having a good time in the evening, enjoying the poetry and music. And that's been successful enough, we're actually going to release an album. So you don't know too many professors who have their own album, eh? But yeah, so in about 3 years from now, we'll have a Future and All That Jazz album with this poetry and music. And yeah, there are even things beyond that. There's international peer review where we have contacted prominent people in the outside world and said, here are our lectures so far, how could we improve this? How could the presentation be better? And so on. So we've made a lot of substantive improvements based on that. So the grading, it's graded as a graduate course, even though very often most of the students are undergraduates, sometimes all of them are. It's still graded as a graduate course, which means if everybody does well, they can all get a high grade. It doesn't have to be curved or anything. And so the midterm exam is worth 20%. The presentation is worth 30%. The paper is worth 40%, and class participation is worth 10%. The topic of the presentation and the paper have to be the same. Yeah, and so we have like exemplar papers and presentations, but we're very, very liberal in terms of format and stuff like that. It isn't like if you use the wrong format, we deduct a lot of points and you end up with a terrible grade because you had good stuff but the wrong format. And we don't do that. And I also like surprises, so you don't have to surprise me, but if you do something that nobody's done before and it's really cool, that's like a positive thing. We also have a shy student provision, so that shy students are not disadvantaged. And even if you're not shy, you can still use the shy student provision. So there's a student in the past, he heard me say that one of the most difficult and unpleasant subjects is the future of war. He thought, well, I guess I'll take that as a challenge. And then he heard about the shy student provision. And he said, I think I'll do that. So if you're a shy student, rather than giving your presentation face to face, you can record it with a professional videographer and then come to class and play your final video of your presentation and then answer questions on it. So he shot kind of a documentary about the future of war in a children's playground on a windy day with no wind protection. So I mean, it is mesmerizing because he's talking about these terrible things, these awful weapons and stuff, got these cute little kids playing on the playground. And every now and then the wind comes up and you hear this giant whooshing sound. It's like, wow. And then I told that story to the students subsequently, and one of them tried to find the most beautiful PowerPoint backgrounds so it could take a really unpleasant subject like the future of war and put it on the most beautiful template, and see how that will work. Yeah, so lots of cool things. There's one student who made his final project interviewing me. So interrogating me. Yeah. So there are lots of possibilities there. You can pick just about any subject as long as your approach fits this idea of futurism, exponential change, existential risk, and speculative content, stuff that doesn't exist yet. Yeah. And then it may amuse you. How does it work with the grading? Well, in my mind, I sort of have a special breakpoint between 94 and 95. You do a really great paper and so on, but it doesn't show any creativity on your part. It's just taking stuff from other people and putting it together in a really interesting way. Okay, that can give you a 94, but to get more than a 94, there has to be some special creativity, stuff coming from your mind directly to the paper, that no one else could come up with except you, and so on. So that's what the grades between 95 and 99 depict. Yeah. Yeah. So any questions about that? What other things would you like to know about the course?
What's your favorite part about the course, or maybe parts?
I think it's always different. Often my favorite part is what's new. And so, for instance, this past term, we talked about human flourishing and transhumanism. We had never done that before. And so I think that was my favorite part this time. Shauna Pandya's part, she's sort of like superhero come to life, right? I mean, she's not that much older than you, but she's packed an incredible amount of exciting life in a short period of time. So she's sort of a future astronaut type person, and she's practicing physician and so on. So that's also a very exciting part of the course. Jack Tazinski and Simon Wu talking about quantum biology. That's also exciting. Bioethics with Michael Van Manen. There are many, many, many exciting parts. I'd say I'm excited about all of it. So, anyway, yeah.
That's good to hear.
Yeah. So, any other questions? Let me interrogate you about your last name. Now, there's another student who has also explored the course with the same last name. Is that person related to you?
Yes, she's my older sister. She's the one that recommended that I take a look at the course as well.
I see. So Amir Grozdanik is her friend, right? So, Amir, yeah. I don't know whether he tells this story, but like one of the coolest things about him, he had an experience that no one else in the world could possibly enjoy. He and I were stuck at Pearson Airport in a just terrible weather emergency. And we slept on the back of, electric carts for a brief time. And that was all anyway. And so it was just him and me doing this. And yeah, so he kept saying what an honor it was having this experience with me. This is so unpleasant. How can you possibly enjoy this? So anyway, no, that is really something. And we learned a lot about things that nobody else really needs to know. For instance, what hours of the night are those electric carts not in service? Because that's the only time you can sleep in the top service. It's not very long. It's like from midnight to 3 a.m., right? So that's the only amount of time. And it really was the best place to sleep. I know it sounds uncomfortable, but all the other options that we had were worse than that. Yeah. So, and so he went with me, he accompanied me when I went to visit David Crippen, who's sort of a legendary figure in critical care medicine. So he runs the main sort of internet resources there, as I do in kidney medicine. We had never met before, and Amir went with me to do the videography and stuff. So yeah, anyway, so yeah, well, I think it is fun when students in the course know each other, you know, when there's been some friendships beforehand. But yeah, anyway, so no, that's cool. So it's not just that your names are the same by accident, right? It didn't seem like a really common name like Smith or Jones or anything. So yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've met another Mahal outside our family, so that'd be a really big coincidence.
Yeah. Okay, so I think I already have your student number. So you want to take this in fall 2021?
Winter 2022.
Winter 2022. Okay, yeah. Well, that's fine. So we can make that happen. And you have to make sure your schedule's free so you haven't already taken the maximum number of courses and things.
Okay.
Yeah. So, okay, I will ask Cheryl Titus to add you to the roster for the course. And I will see you in winter 2022 then. And of course, you can have interaction with us beforehand. And I mean, you can watch the videos from the fall if some of them interest you, and see what we're up to, you know, because there are always new things in the course. A course about the future is not valid. It's always the same, you know. That's not a course about the future. So we have to kind of morph and change every time, and we do that. You may wonder what this scene behind me is. This is a buddy bench, and there are two stuffed bears sitting on a buddy bench looking out on this sunrise. Yeah, but buddy benches are important to me. If you ever come up to my area of the hospital, you'll see that out in the hallway there is a buddy bench here just around the corner from my office with stuffed animals and other cool stuff on it. So yeah. So I'm one of the first people to create buddy benches inside the hospital. Yeah. Because after all, psychologically, everybody needs buddies, right?
You do.
It's a good thing. Okay, well, does that take care of things for now then? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for meeting with me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we will proceed to add you to the course, and yep, I'll see you in 2022.
See you
Okay.
then. Good rest
Bye.
of your day.